Widely known as the hamster mobile from that catchy commercial, a lot of consumers forget that Kia now offers the Soul in an eco-electric. Today I'm driving the 2015 Kia Soul EV. Let's take a look and see if it has a place in the ever-growing electric car market. Now, when Kia introduced the Soul all those years ago, it was not the original box car. That title belonged to the Scion XB, which Scion is in the process of fading away. That leaves really the Soul as the only vehicle in this class, as Nissan also killed the Cube for 2014. And if you guys can remember, I showed you guys the gasoline Soul about almost 2 years ago when the company introduced the second generation Soul back in 2014. Now, for 2015, the company did introduce the Soul EV. Now, it's only available in select markets, which is probably why you don't see too many of them on the road. You can only get this car in California, Oregon, and then some northeastern states. Now, the Soul EV is basically an all-electric plug-in car. This is not a hybrid. There's no gasoline range extender or a gasoline engine to help drive the car. And the Soul EV competes with vehicles like the ever-popular Nissan Leaf, the Ford Focus Electric, the all-new Golf EV, and in its marketplace, the Soul is already a pretty competitive car. The gasoline Soul, that is. It's a very stylish car. It's a very unique car. It certainly stands out, and it's also a very practical car. So all those characteristics of the gasoline Soul basically carry through to this Soul EV. Now, you can spot a Soul EV from several things. When you look at the front of the car, it has its own unique grille. Of course, it doesn't have a gas engine to cool, really. So the grille has this. It doesn't really have an inlet for the grille. It just has this plastic piece that covers it over for aerodynamics, of course. Now, that plastic door does open for the charge ports. It reveals the standard 120 and 240 volt outlet or the 480 volt quick charge port. That's actually standard on every Soul, unlike the Nissan Leaf, where you do have to go for the higher trims to get the quick charger. Now, the design of this car looks basically like the gas Soul again. The headlights have these LED accents around them and then an LED turn signal. Surprisingly, though, you cannot get the HID headlights that are available on the gasoline Soul. I really think this car could probably use LED headlights, as these projector halogens do consume more power than it should for an electric vehicle of this caliber. Now, coming around the side, again, you can see a couple of elements to let you know this is an EV. On the side, there's a badge that says Eco Electric. These special aerodynamic 16-inch wheels certainly don't look as great as what you get on the gasoline Souls with the 18s, but it does ride a little bit nicer. It is low rolling resistance, so it's all there for fuel economy. Now, coming around back, you do have these LED tail lights. They're not full LEDs, as the turn signal is an incandescent bulb along with the tag light bulbs. I kind of think if Kia is going to go for the all-electric route, they should have probably put LED lighting around the entire car, just to help reduce the power consumption. Now, of course, another reason you're going to be noticing this is an EV, there's no tailpipe. This vehicle does not have a gas engine. It's an all-electric car. Now, in terms of the size, this is actually a little bit smaller than the Nissan Leaf, if you can believe it. It's about 10 inches shorter than a Leaf. It weighs about the same. It's gained about 400 to 500 pounds more versus the gas counterpart, and that's all due to the batteries, which lives underneath the back seat. For now, let's take a look at the interior and see if it's any different from the gasoline counterparts. Checking out the cabin of the 2015 Kia Soul EV, you better like the color scheme gray, because this is the only color you can get on the inside of the Soul. And it does have this nice blue contrasting stitching. The seats themselves are made from a eco-friendly material, recycled plastics, recycled materials, especially in the headliner. That's where you're really going to notice it. Now, the Soul has a really nice step-in height. It's almost comparable to an SUV. It's not sitting up as high, but this is a small hatchback that is a little bit taller than your average compact hatchback, per se. Now, shutting the door, it has a pretty nice solid thunk to it, and overall you can see the interior is not really different versus the gasoline Soul, aside from this color-coded plastic white panel here that does come exclusively on the Soul EV. This is only white. You can't actually change the color of this car with the exterior, unfortunately. Now, here's the key for the vehicle. It's Kia's smart key access system with push-button start. It's standard on the Soul EV, so all you have to do is put your foot on the brake and then push the button over here to start up the motor. Now, of course, this doesn't have an engine, so you're not going to hear any kind of starter at all. What you're really going to look for is that green car icon that will light up to let you know that this car is ready to be driven and that everything is turned on. Now, right now I've got it on a full charge. It's actually showing 96 miles of range. If I turn off the air conditioner right here, it goes up to 103. The most I've seen it at is 105. Now, that's pretty excellent range. It's about 20 miles more than what you get from a Nissan Leaf. Kia says this car will do about 93, what the EPA says, but a lot of people actually have been shown to get a little bit better MPG than what the EPA numbers have suggested. Now, you can see looking at the rest of this interior, the Soul has a pretty nice interior. That's been the case since the company redesigned the car for the second generation. I showed you that already. The dashboard has a soft touch graining material. It has some leather stitching over the instrument panel. The door panels right here are soft touch as well. And then it's a leather stitch right here where your elbows are going to rest. Now, the window is automatic up down for the driver only. I kind of wish they also made it from the passenger side. You have actually folding mirrors here as well, so you can fold the mirrors in and out if you'd like to. So that's a nice premium feature that a lot of its competitors just don't give you. Now, looking at the center stack here, this is basically the same 8-inch touchscreen Uvo, Your Voice, Uconnect, or not Uconnect, Your Voice. That's what Uvo stands for. This is Kia's infotainment system. It's a pretty nice screen. Right now I have it on the EV setting here. This is basically what it gives you. This is basically important stuff when you're driving an EV. It gives you your range, it gives you your nearby stations, it gives you your energy information here. If you click on Eco Driving here, it'll show you this little tree that turns blue if you drive more efficiently. It also even shows you your history to see just how efficiently you or someone else in the car has driven. Now, going back to the home screen here, this is the home screen of the Uvo, Your Voice, Uconnect, infotainment display, and I keep calling it Uconnect, but that's Chrysler. You can see you can actually show a navigation display, your audio information here, the eco, that's really important for this type of vehicle. One thing that I really like when you go to energy information here, it'll tell you how long it takes to charge based on the battery's current state right now. You can also go to electric usage. You can see the climate is using 0.23 kilowatts. Electronics is using some energy. Really, the drivetrain is really what's going to be using the most energy. When you floor it, this car will use as an 81 kilowatt electric traction motor. Now, looking at the rest of the infotainment display, it's basically the same Kia Uvo stuff. It has a pretty nice touchscreen. It's really responsive, really nice graphics. Looking at the map display here, go into your navigation here. It's a pretty decent map display. It's nothing really special. It gets the job done, but one thing I really like about this car that's really important when you're driving a car like this, it'll show you your expected range. So example, when you click on range here, it'll show you whatever's in that green bar the car says you can make it there. Whatever is in the red, you can almost make it there. You're really pushing it. And then whatever in the gray area, that means you can't make it there on the range. So it's really nice that Kia gives you that feature. I mean, it's kind of important when you drive an EV like this. Other than that, you do have your other niceties in here. You have heated and cooled seats. You do have automatic climate control, a single zone. This right here is interesting. When you push this, driver only, basically it focuses all the climate on the driver. It helps reduce power consumption, but it helps to keep you cool. That's if you don't have anyone else in the car with you. When you put the vehicle into reverse here, you do have a nice backup camera. It doesn't have trajectory, but it does have front and rear parking sensors to help you park this car, even though this is a really small car already. Now, speaking of the transmission, it's a 1-speed direct drive transmission. There's no gears, of course. You just put your foot down, this car just takes off. It does have your traditional PRND, and then B stands for braking. That has to do with just gives you kind of an extra amount of braking to slow the car down and to also help regen the batteries. Now, basically the rest of this interior here, you do have some nice storage here for your cell phone, some wallet keys, USB, your 12 volts are there. You have a nice cup holder lid here that is pretty sturdy. And then the rest of the materials here, it is soft touch right there where your elbow's going to rest, and a pretty good amount of storage space. The seats themselves, you do lose the power seats that are in the gas model, but the seats themselves, the leather doesn't really feel all that plush, but this is an economy car. It's nice that Kia gives you leather. And then, of course, you do lose the big panoramic sunroof that you can get on the gas model, which does just basically take up power. And then you can see here Kia uses kind of an eco headliner that feels like it's made from recycled materials. I mean, overall, the cabin is pretty nice. Materials are good. I like the speakers sitting on top of the air vents here, and it's a pretty stylish looking cabin. One thing you will notice when this car is plugged in, there's a little LED indicator light there that glows bright blue when it's plugged in to let you know the charge of the battery. If all three are glowing, it means the battery is basically fully charged. Now, looking at the back seat of the Soul EV, this is where the batteries basically live, underneath the seats, which is why the legroom has been reduced versus the gas model. And you can see the floor is a little bit higher. higher. They had to raise the seat up to compensate for the higher floor. But overall, the space back here is still pretty good. You have pretty decent foot space still underneath the front seats. The Nissan Leaf actually gives you a little bit less space, so the Soul does give you more room versus the Leaf. You do not have a folding armrest here. That seems like a silly omission to me. But overall, if you shut the doors here, you can see you still have heated back seats here, so that's really nice that Kia gives you that feature. The door panels, unfortunately, are hard touch plastic back here, but it is a soft touch armrest right here where your elbow's going to rest. And then you can see here, you do have dual map pockets in the seats, but no rear seat air vents. Now, checking out the cargo area of the Soul EV, you can see here it's still a pretty practical car that the gas Soul gives you. You do have a little bit reduced cargo space from the electric motors that are back here, but overall you're still going to get about 18 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold them down, you're going to get just under 50 cubic feet of space, which is almost double what the Nissan Leaf gives you. That only gives you about 30 cubic feet of space. You can see here there is this little under-seat storage right here. Then of course Kia gives you the standard trickle charge system here that you can plug into your household outlet. And then of course most of you will probably be using a normal charge, the 240 that you'll have installed at your house. Now, underneath the hood, you're not going to find an engine. You're going to find an electric motor and some inverters and a little battery here and some orange cables. This is not a plug-in hybrid. It's not a hybrid. There's no gas engine. It's a full electric car. And what you're looking at is basically an 81 kilowatt electric traction motor paired with a 27 kilowatt hour battery. Now, that probably doesn't mean much to you. All you need to know is it makes 109 horsepower and 210 pound-feet of torque, which makes it a lot more torqueier versus the gas engines. If you guys go for a gas Soul, it has about 164 horsepower from the 2-liter and 138 or so from the 1.6. Now, this car does weigh about 400 to 500 pounds more versus the gas model, but that torque is that instant torque with an electric motor. So when you put your foot down, this car's pretty quick. Now, the numbers aren't exactly quick, but we'll get on the road, I'll show you that. Now, the efficiency numbers, this car gets about 110 mpge. Now, that doesn't really mean much to you, but it does have about a 30 kilowatt hour consumption for energy, and the lower the number is, the better. What you really want to know is the range. The EPA rates this car at about 93 miles on a full charge, and a lot of people have actually gotten better. So this is the tops in the class in terms of range. But let's get on the road and see how it all works. The Soul EV is front-wheel drive only, and it's paired with that direct drive transmission. Now, if you guys can remember my review of the gasoline Soul, I was pretty impressed with the car. I've always enjoyed the way this car looked. Out of all the box cars that were out, the Soul has always been the most stylish. It's also the best selling. Kia moves over 100,000 of these every year, which is why the company still has it around, where the Scion XB, the Nissan Cube, is gone. However, this is my first time driving the EV version, so let's take a look and see how this model drives. Now again, don't let the rather modest numbers fool you from what the electric motor pushes out. When you drive an EV, I don't know if you guys have ever actually had a chance to drive an all-electric car. They're surprisingly fun to drive just because there is so much power instantly when you put your foot down. And there's no noise. This car basically drives like an overgrown golf cart, and for those of you who have had fun driving one of those electric golf carts around a golf course, driving a car like this basically just makes it twice the fun. Now, what you will hear when your foot is planted to the floor is kind of an electric motor whirring noise. It's almost very George Jetson, the Jetsons-like in character. It's a pretty cool electric hum. For those of you who are the techies out there, you'll really appreciate that electric hum. You purists out there like myself may be missing the sound of an exhaust note, some barking engine when you put your foot down, some incredibly quick shifts. But nonetheless, the experience in this car is certainly very cool. It's different if you're looking to try something different. And the best thing about the Soul EV is it drives just like the regular Soul. The steering is very good, actually. It has the driver selectable modes here. You can cycle between sport, comfort, and normal. I left it in the sport mode most of the times. It adds some artificial heft to it. But the steering in the Soul is very good. It's a rather confident car. I mean, it does understeer pretty bad when you get around the corners just because of those low rolling resistance tires, but it's competent nonetheless. One thing about the Soul EV that you'll really notice immediately on your first drive is the improved ride quality. This car, like I said before, weighs about 400 to 500 pounds more from those heavy electric batteries that are in the back seat underneath the floor, and it really does improve the ride. This car is also amazingly quiet on the inside. You do hear a little bit of road noise, but it's pretty silent, honestly. I got this car up on the highway at about 70 miles an hour, and it's pretty quiet for a box. There's really not much wind noise, surprisingly. It's mostly just some road noise. But you can see here, just going through the DC area here with these really crappy roads, the Soul EV rides pretty well, especially with these smaller 16-inch wheels. They're not as low profile as the gas models 18s, so they do give you a little bit of a softer ride quality. The seats in this car are a little on the harder side. They're firm. They kind of feel like I'm sitting on the seat rather than in them. But again, this is an economy car. It's bones, so I have to remember that. But overall here, the steering, the handling is very good. The visibility is also good. You have these gigantic side mirrors here, some really big windows to see out of. There's no weird shapes in here, so you can always see out of. This is a box, remember, which is probably why Kia doesn't offer any driver assistance tech on this car that's active. There's no lane keep assist, there's no lane departure warning, no adaptive cruise. I don't really need it in a car like this, let's be honest here. And most of the EVs in the class don't really offer it either. But I mean, overall, as a kind of a commuter car that you're going to drive through the city, if you live in the suburbs, this is an excellent car from its great ride quality, from its impressive off the line power, and to its usable range. I mean, I didn't really have the range anxiety that I had with the Leaf. I mean, I like to see how this car goes over 100 miles on a full charge. Of course, it does take a little bit longer to charge versus the Leaf, for example. This car with the standard 120, the trickle charge, that's the one in your household, your house, basically you're gonna plug it into. It takes 24 hours to charge versus the Leaf taking about 20 hours to charge. The 240, that's the one that you'll have installed at your house. It's like a dryer, a connector. It's about 4 to 5 hours. The Leaf's about 3 to 4. Not a big difference. And of course, if you guys can find that 480 volt charger, you can get about 80% charge in about 33 minutes is what Kia says. Now with your foot to the floor, you can expect to get to 60 by the numbers in around 9 to 10 seconds, about 9.5 seconds, which is downright lethargic, but it is quicker than a Leaf. It's about the same as a Golf EV, the new EV Golf. The Fit EV was about the same, roughly. And the Focus Electric is a little bit about the same as well, actually. But what you're going to notice is the feel. This car gets off the line pretty quick, like I said, just because of that instant torque. And really where you're really going to notice it is around town. When you put your foot down around town, this car just surges forward and it pushes you back in the seat. On the highway, you will notice this car has a little bit lacking of power. That's basically the fact that it only has 109 horsepower, but 210 pound-feet of torque is pretty good for a vehicle of this size. See here, my foot is to the floor, and I'm surprised at just how well this thing gets up to speed, especially on this hill. And going around these corners here, the steering, like I said, is pretty numb, but it is precise. Really, you're just going to feel the lack of grip from these low rolling resistance tires, these eco tires. But overall, the Soul EV is pretty fun to drive, and I think it feels a lot more fun to drive than the gasoline equipped Souls, at least until Kia gives us a turbo version for the gas models. As you can hear, this car will break traction because it is front-wheel drive when you do plant your foot. So it's always comical when that happens, just because it's very stealthy. You put your foot down in this car and you expect it to make some noise, but it starts squealing the tires. And it's just a fun thing to do in every electric vehicle that I pretty much test. Now, coming up to the conclusion of my review, I'm happy to say that I'm pretty surprised with the Soul EV. I was not really all that impressed with it when Kia first announced it. Honestly, it was another EV, but compared to the Leaf that I showed you guys, I've also showed you guys a Focus Electric. The Soul EV is actually probably my favorite. I think it's more spacious. It looks better than the Leaf. It gives you more room on the inside. It gives you a much better range, and in terms of acceleration, the Soul EV is a little bit quicker, but to be honest, the Leaf wasn't exactly a slug when you put your foot down either. But I guess if you blind the two up in a drag race, the Soul EV would be quicker. Now, a couple of things that I wish Kia would address within the coming years when they refresh this car over for the new generation. I think the car needs to have all LED lighting, especially if you're going to try to reduce the power consumption, improve the range. I'd like to see a different wheel option on this car. The Leaf offers a very nice looking 17-inch wheel that just makes it look better versus these rather ugly looking 16s that are aerodynamics, the white painted. I'm not really a fan of that, to be honest. I would like to see Kia offer some premium features in here, like I guess the big panoramic sunroof, power seats. Of course, again, that will consume up energy, so you really have to pick and choose, if you want to have a longer range. For an electric car like this, yes, I would probably have the longer range. One thing I'm also noticing is the key fob in this car, there's no way you can open up the port in the front. The Leaf allows you to do that from the key fob. I also liked how with the Leaf, if you were charging it through there, you could actually lock the charger to the port in case you're parked like in an outside area where you're afraid someone might come over and yank the port off and steal it, for example. The Soul doesn't have a way that you can lock it like the Leaf does. But overall, those are little quibbles here and there. I think this is actually a really great effort for Kia's first entry into the plug-in electric car market. And it's a shame that a lot of people don't really have a chance to drive this car because it's not really available. It's not even available in the DC area that I'm in right now. I thought Maryland would have it, but I mean, let's get to the pricing here for a car like this. This car starts at about just under $34,000 for the base model. If you guys go for the Exclaim or the Plus model, it's a little bit more expensive for the Plus model. But overall, it's about a $5,000 to $10,000 price difference versus the gas model. So if you're going to compare the base gasoline engine, that gasoline Soul that I showed you guys was about $27,000. So that makes this car about $5,000, $6,000 more expensive. Now, for all the electric equipment hardware, it's certainly worth the money, and it's priced in line with its competitors. The Leaf, again, is its big competitor, which starts at roughly the same money. It can go up to about $37,000 fully loaded. My Tester is about $36,500 for this particular model. There are no options. You just get the Plus model, and it has everything as standard equipment, including the navigation, the leather, the heated and cooled seats, features like that. Now, of course, that's before you factor in the tax credits. If you're going to buy this car in Maryland, for example, there's a $3,000 tax credit that you'll get basically instantly. And then, of course, there's also the $7,500 you get from the federal government, which does basically lower this price of this car by $10,000. You're looking at about $26,000. But really, what the electric car market is, you always want to lease this kind of a car. For example, the Nissan Leaf that I showed you guys before had really excellent lease rates. You can basically lease one of these EVs for around $200 a month, which makes it a really good deal, especially if you guys are looking to add a second car as your commuter car to go to and from work, where you don't have to drive too many miles, where you can actually utilize this 100-mile range that this car offers. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with the Kia Soul EV. If you guys are in the market for a vehicle like this and it is available in your market, make sure you put this one on your list. You may actually prefer it over the more well-known Nissan Leaf. If you guys are looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and keep subscribing to the YouTube channel so you can keep seeing all the latest reviews from us. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.